Let's take a look at making a simple flower bowl. We're going to be using a bisque form that many of you already have. This is just earthenware bisque. Stoneware bisque fired to 04 will work as well. You can use that as your base. The clay won't stick to it. It will release and the bisque will absorb the moisture, which makes it an ideal surface for doing this technique. We're working with the clay cutters from Dela Designs. These are her petal cutters. She has round ones, she has pointed ones. There's different sizes. Depending on the size bowl you're working with, will determine what size cutter. I've rolled out my slab of clay. I've put my plastic wrap over the top, and I've used my cutters to cut into the clay so the clay doesn't stick to the edges of that cutter. I can peel the plastic wrap back, and I can peel all of that excess clay from in between those away. We're gonna set that aside because we'll use some of that for the center of our flower. And I can take these petals and I can just pinch the edges to make them thin just along the edge of the petal. It will give them more of an irregular shape. And I can take and I can lay those inside of my bowl, bringing it up onto the edge. And I'll continue to do that for all of these petals. You could leave them thick on the edge, but I kind of like the irregular shape. I'm just gonna lay these in here. I'm not gonna press them at this point because I wanna make sure that I have them spaced well before I press them all together. You could, if you wanted to leave these thicker, you could take a damp sponge around the outside edge to smooth the edges. Now once I've got all the petals made, I can go back and I can overlap these a little bit now that I know how much I need to be able to space this out. Once I have those positioned, I'm just going to take and I'm going to squish them together all around this area. I'm going to bend them down. I can take a sponge and I can smooth these. You don't want to get it too wet. Sponge is just damp and I'm just using it to smooth. If the clay gets too wet, it gets really sloppy and sticky. And then in the center of my flower, I'm going to take these scraps. I'm going to make a ball of clay and press that together. And then I'm going to flatten this out. I'll taper it on the edges. I'll make sure this is big enough to fit in the center. And I'm going to score the area where that's going to attach. I'm going to score this area. I'm going to wet all around here. And then I'm going to take that centerpiece and I'm going to put that in, give it a little wiggle, and press it down nice and tight. And I can take the end of a tool and just tap in a texture into that center of the flower. Once this is dry enough to take out of the bowl, you can flip it over and pop the piece out, clean up the edges, and fire. Or if you do this as a workshop, you can leave it right in the bowls, you can fire it in the bowl. Just make sure that you don't have any clay going around that edge, because as this clay dries, it's going to shrink and it can crack along there. So make sure that nothing folds over that edge as the clay dries on the surface.